2019. The four land borders are Seme in the southwest, Ilela in Sokoto State, Megatari in the northwest, and Mfum in the south-south. It is pertinent to note that the reopening of the borders does not cancel restrictions on importation of rice, poultry, and other banned products. However, there are other borders to be reopened by the end of the year, according to the federal government. Let's recall that the decision to close down the borders in the first place was born out of genuine concerns relating to attendance challenges posed by the smuggling and the illegal importation of drugs, arms, food, agricultural products, and other commodities into the country, as well as to boost local production, improve security, and generate state revenues through import duties. Indeed, that's noteworthy of responsible leadership under President Muhammadu Buhari, as Nigeria in November ratified its membership of the African Free Trade Zone, due to be launched in January after initial reluctance to join the bloc for fear of exposing Nigeria as a dumping ground by countries outside Africa. Now, as the nation looks forward to the reopening of other land borders soon, it is pertinent for stakeholders to review the lessons learned from the closure and way forward towards boosting business and commercial activities for the good of Nigeria and her neighbors. So tonight we'll continue the conversation on border reopening and its impact on the economy. We do have updates from the zones, and our guest on Weekend File tonight is Dr. Ken Ukoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. I am Kenan Ima Abodike. The news now. The federal government has urged religious leaders in the country to refrain from stoking the embers of hatred and disunity, warning that resorting to scorched earth rhetoric at this time could trigger unintended consequences. In a statement, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said religious leaders have a responsibility to speak truth to power. Such truth must not come wrapped in anger, hatred, disunity, and religious disharmony. Lai Mohammed noted that calling for a violent overthrow of a democratically elected government, no matter how disguised such a call is, and casting a particular religion as violent is not what any religious leader should engage in, and certainly not at a season of peace. He added that instigating regime change outside the ballot box is not only unconstitutional, but also an open call to anarchy, saying that while some religious leaders, being human, may not be able to disguise their national leadership preference, they should refrain from stigmatizing the leader they have never supported anyway, using well-worn and disproved allegations of nepotism. The minister maintained that whatever challenges Nigeria may be going through at this moment can only be tackled when all leaders and indeed all Nigerians come together, not when some people arrogantly engage in name-calling and finger-pointing. Meanwhile, the Buhari Media Organization, BMO, has expressed disappointment of the sermon delivered by Bishop Matthew Kukar on Christmas Day 2020, where he made unfounded allegations against President Muhammadu Buhari and also made subtle calls for a coup in the country. The group, in a statement signed by its chairman, Niye Akishiju, knows that this was not the first time the Catholic bishop had used the pulpit to sow division, discord, and fuel an agenda of anarchy. The BMO stated that the sermon delivered by Bishop Kukar on Christmas Day was a contrast against the spirit and message of the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. The group stated that it remained confident in Nigeria's armed forces not to be moved or take any notice of the sermon delivered by Bishop Kukar. The Nigerian armed forces under President Buhari are not thugs and will not do anything against the Constitution of Nigeria. They are well trained and are in tune with the president's agenda for the nation to tackle insecurity, to fight corruption, and to rejuvenate and build a resilient economy for the country. We are sure that this will be the case even when President Buhari leaves office at the expiration of his tenure, the statement added. The relevance of Boxing Day is to actualize the essence of Christmas, which entails exchange of gifts. However, the age-long practice of sharing freebies was not prevalent in Lagos this year, as most residents stayed indoors in compliance with the advice on general conduct for preventing COVID-19. Michael Olalaye reports on the mood of the mega city on Boxing Day.
Having celebrated several festivities in the COVID-19 era of 2020, Christmas and Boxing Day came with a lot of practice on how to celebrate in a rather subtle manner. Lagos, a city popular for conviviality, thus earning the slogan "Eco for Show," sort of excused the flair and the beauty synonymous with the Yutai. Notable fun locations are still struggling to pick up the vibe. Even on a day like this, which in previous years featured exchange of gifts among family and friends, residents were more committed to observing the COVID-19 protocols for safety, which presupposes a reduced level of interaction.
So many people are actually scared, so they try to stay indoor. And even today, Boxing Day used to be boom, you understand, fun everywhere, parties and all that. But now it's just like in the normal usual day.
Because of this COVID-19 spoiled so many things for us, but we manage ourselves to say, okay, let us just do it the way we believe God will help us.
Some innovative minds, however, explored the possibility of exchanging gifts virtually. Precisely this time last year, Roland received more than 4 different gift items, but currently is yet to open any package. Although still expectant, he is mindful that life is sacrosanct and must be preserved by applying caution. In other words, observing all COVID-19 preventive guidelines.
Your loved ones, you can't really do with them, play with them the way you used to, without nose mask, you know. We just have to forge ahead because COVID has come to stay.
The uniqueness of the 2020 Boxing Day in Lagos is that people are obviously in tune with government's advice on urgency to limit socializing. This is evident on major roads which are practically deserted. In Lagos, Michael Olalaye, NTA News.
Still talking about the Yuletide, Cross River State has carved a niche for itself as a tourism hub with its carnival Calabar, which offers visitors a once-in-a-lifetime Christmas experience every year. The story of Christmas in Calabar this year is expectedly different, and so no thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic, which is the reason as residents now have to celebrate the Yuletide without the fanfare and ambience that accompanies the annual festival. As the Cross River State government cancels the carnival to avoid the spread of the disease, Justina Etim takes a look at Christmas without carnival in Calabar.
For the past 15 years, Cross River State has been on the global stage of tourism, displaying her rich culture and sites. One of the high points of the state's Christmas ritual is the Carnival Calabar, which features annually. This glitz, glamour, razzmatazz and street fanfare will not hold this Christmas, the first time in 15 years since inception, and this is due obviously to the COVID-19 pandemic. This development means a lot to different people. To some, Christmas is without its pomp.
The town is not totally dead. You know, there are a lot of activities lined up even by individuals to fill in the gap. A lot of people are going to feel the absence of carnival at this particular time, but it's also necessary for our health.
Like now, we have kidnapping and all that. I'm so happy that the carnival will not hold, because so that all those things will not be
taking place.
The carnival offers a unique blend of leisure and business while boosting the state's economy.
The government of Cross River State loves Cross Riverans, we love Nigerians, and indeed everyone who comes from all across the world to celebrate with us. And that's why we're putting a hold to the Calabar Carnival this year.
We're known for celebration, especially when it comes to December period. So we have pockets of events here and there.
Pieces of advice from well-meaning individuals are calling for strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols from all and sundry as the celebration continues. In Calabar, Justina Etam, NTA News.
Now, the Co-Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Dr. Boboye Oyemi, has expressed satisfaction with the general conduct, commitment, and professionalism of the personnel of the Corps, as manifested during the ongoing Yuletide Special Patrol. The Corps Public Education Officer, BC Kazim, says Dr. Oyemi gave the commendation after receiving briefs from supervisory officers deployed from the national headquarters to monitor the special operations nationwide. The Corps Marshal, while giving an overview of the Global Road Safety Campaign under the auspices of the UN Decade of Action for Road Safety 2011 to 2020, stated that the campaign would end at the end of this year and would transit to another decade of campaign from 2020 to 2030. He called on the staff to prepare for the task ahead, pointing out that the Corps has done very well on the pillars of the ongoing campaign. He applauded President Muhammad Buhari and the National Executive Council for approving the reviewed Nigeria Road Safety Strategy, NRSS, for the Decade of Action Roadmap. The document will facilitate the entrenchment of safer roads, safer road users, safer vehicles, enhanced post-crash care, among others. The NRSS, according to him, is an important, noble, and timely intervention which supports the process of entrenching the culture of safe use of Nigerian roads. The Nigerian Medical Association, after the chapter, has called on the general public to adhere to the coronavirus preventive guidelines and urged governments to play their roles in the battle against the virus, as not less than 20 doctors have been lost to COVID-19 in the last 1 week. Chairman of the association, Dr. Enema Amodu, stressed this while briefing members of the press in Abuja. Hakimat Aliyu was there.
Is currently faced with the second wave of coronavirus, which is even more catastrophic. Acknowledging this, Dr. Emena Amodu, Chairman Nigerian Medical Association FCT chapter, expresses disappointment that people still go about disregarding the protocols.
For those of us in the health sector, we've lost quite a number of colleagues in the last 1 week alone. I'm here to solidarize first with the families of our members that have lost loved ones.
While appealing to patients coming into the hospitals to always comply, not to put the health workers at risk. He also used the medium to request that government expedite action towards implementing the new hazard allowance away from the usual 5,000 naira.
We need this show of solidarity from the government because the virus is still very much with us.
The Nigerian Medical Association assured FCT residents that its members are bound to their oath and combat ready to save lives, either from COVID-19 or any medical emergencies. In Abuja, Hakimat Aliyu, NTA News.
In a related development, President Muhammad Buhari has saluted the sacrifices of 20 doctors reportedly killed by COVID-19, saying their welfare is a priority for his government. In his condolence message to the Nigerian Medical Association, the president said the death of the frontline health workers in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic is particularly sad, as the professionals risk their own lives in order to save others. President Buhari appreciated the maximum sacrifices being made by the nation's health workers to save lives despite severe limitations, promising that his administration will leave no stone unturned in order to ensure their needs are met. Meanwhile, the president has also expressed his sadness over the demise of the Galadima Lokoja Chief Godwin Ajabo and the chairman of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, retired Air Commodore Idongesit Nkanga, former military governor of Akwa Ibom State. To other matters now, two state governors, Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State and Abubakar Bagudu of Kebbi State, as well as the immediate past Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, have received special birthday greetings from President Muhammadu Buhari, describing them as superheroes of the nation's democracy. While wishing the celebrants good health and happiness, the president said his administration will continue working closely with all of them to further strengthen the governing All Progressives Congress and Nigeria's democratic enterprise. President Buhari urged them to continue with their commitment to the service of the people, as the nation expects much more from their generation. In a statement signed by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, the president wishes them many more happy returns. You're watching Weekend File on the NTA network service. Let's go for a break now. More reports shortly.
Are you ready for this?
Let me hear you, AJ. Give me some bass.
That good for you?
Nice, AJ. Bring it out. Double it.
I was born hungry for success. It's the Nigerian way. Glow gets it. Champions stay hungry. Oh yeah. Glow gets it big time. One more for sure. Champions go the distance and then go further. Glow, the heart of a champion.
Admiralty University of Nigeria, ADUN, is a global university educating luminary leaders. Founded by the Nigerian Navy and Hellenic education, students enjoy timely graduation, an environment free of cultism and insecurity, a serene and conducive environment for study. Admission is currently going on into the following programs. Also available are pre-degree and 2-year top-up program. Admission form is free. To apply, visit www.adun.edu.ng. For inquiries, please call us on or visit our campus along Asaba Ibuzo Gwashuku Expressway, Delta State. Admiralty University of Nigeria, excellence in education.
Mommy is back!
Guess what's inside?
Chocolate! Biscuits!
Our new toothpaste, Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection.
Why are we changing our toothpaste?
Because with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, I can be sure your teeth are cavity-free.
Cavity? What cavity?
Let me show you.
Most toothaches are caused by tooth holes called cavities. When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavity.
It also has natural mint for minty fresh breath every day.
Mom, can I eat chocolates now?
As long as you brush with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection.
Colgate is the world's most chosen toothpaste.
Colgate locks calcium in.
Keeps cavities out!
Recommended by the Nigerian Dental Association. Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth
through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria, pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Do you know that 35% of every girl child and women are raped on daily basis? Some are killed in the process, some take their lives in shame, others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not ours, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Never cover any rape act because a rapist is a murderer. It could be you or your loved ones next. Women must be treated like the prize gem they are. Say no to rape.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Thanks for staying with us on Weekend File. The reopening of the Seme border is expected to revive dwindling trading activities between Nigeria and neighboring Benin Republic. It will also trigger economic activities to hasten the nation's exit from recession in 2021. Amaka Owo, who sought the views of economic experts, completes the report.
The Seme border community, where businesses have been at the lowest ebb since its closure, is expected to come alive with the announcement of the reopening of the border.
I thank God that they have opened the border, because when we are coming to Nigeria, it's not easy like that. We spend a lot of money.
As the economy continues to absorb the shocks from thwarted plans caused by lingering COVID-19, the reopening of the borders, experts say, remains an apt decision that will speed up economic recovery.
Import as well as export are going to be galvanized. And once that is done, the second thing that comes up as an impact is increased productivity.
Analysts estimate that over 200 billion naira was lost since the closure of the borders.
A lot of people who were idle doing nothing suddenly sprang into activity. So there is a significant amount of new job creation across the border communities once the border is open.
Considering Nigeria's fundamental role in the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, the impact trickles down beyond the country to the West African region.
Opening the borders is the way of walking the talk as far as our readiness to play within the AFCTA is concerned. And the AFCTA, of course, I'm talking about the African Free Trade Continental Free Trade Agreement. Nigeria is a a major part. Nigeria is going to be a major player, especially the Nigerian private sector.
Experts also say that with lessons learned from the border closure in August 2019 and sanity restored should be sustained, especially against smuggling, among other irregularities, for maximum benefits of business transactions within the area. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
Ilela border has remained closed despite announcements of its reopening by the federal government. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that the continuous closure of the border had become a source of concern to traders, especially those in the border town.
Ilela border is one of the borders that were recently reopened by the federal government. With the latest development, import and export of approved goods will begin in earnest after months of closure, a development that impeded businesses and social activities. The news of the reopening of the borders had elicited applause in the affected communities, with residents saying life will come back to normal. Many Nigerians had decried the closure of borders, saying the development had aggravated poverty, made the cost of basic needs high, and crippled the source of livelihood of many.
Gaskiya mun wahala sosai wallahi mun wahala yanzu duk wanda adda jari na naira miliyan guda wallahi yanzu ya da 100 saboda matsalar ruwa da gidan kai.
However, despite the announcement of the reopening of the border remained closed as Nigeria Customs Service are yet to officially receive any circular.
Since it has been reopened, by God's grace, things will start moving gradually, and with time, everything will come back to normal.
Export or surplus in exportation or in international trade is what calls for opening a border, and also it leads to growth and development of a country.
Government had at the onset said borders were closed to stop importation of contrabands, including arms and ammunition, boost agriculture, and protect local economy. In Sokoto, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the joy that greeted the reopening of some Nigerian borders and expected attendant benefits on businesses and other economic activities seem to be defeated. This is because there is a lull in activities at the informed border, which is still partially closed. Correspondent Justina Atim tells us more.
Cameroon border at Mfum in Etung local government area of Cross River State is generally known as the Mfum border. This is one of the 4 borders directed to be reopened by President Muhammadu Buhari since its closure in August 2019. But at the Mfum border, the case is different, as locals who depend on free flow of activities at the border are yet to feel the impact of the directive.
I see no reason why we are still suffering. The thing has still been the same. It's still locked. The security men here safe. We have not seen any signal from the presidency.
We never get entrance into the border or out of the border. And most of us are our only means of survival.
Some youth, probably on citing NTA News, thought it wise to register their displeasure over the delay in reopening the border.
Immigration has opened their own gates, but up to now, custom gate is still closed.
Assistant Controller of Immigration in charge of the border, Livinus Ezo, says the Nigerian immigration has opened the border as directed by the president.
I got directive from my CG, Controller General of Nigerian Immigration Service, through my controller in Calabar. I promptly opened the border. We don't prevent people from coming in, Nigerians with valid documents.
Not as if the moment they say open the border, then what it means is that we open the border and then allow anybody who cares to know it's going on. The right things must be done.
It is the expectation of locals that the Mfum border will return to its once vibrant state to douse the economic hardship occasioned by its closure. From Mfum border, Justina Etam, NTA News.
Dr. Ken Ukoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders, joins us live tonight on the Weekend File. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
A very interesting report there. No matter how anybody approaches it, there is still great cheering news that 4 borders have been reopened, and then of course we are also looking at other borders to be reopened before the end of the year. Now let's start from there. There should be lessons learned from the closure of these borders from the first instance.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Well, the first lesson that we should place on the table is that all those issues that were causative factors that led to the closure of the border in the first place should be avoided by all parties, all actors. And then specifically, we need to also look at a situation where the general public, both the general travel public as well as operators of businesses or cross-border businesses, must also come to terms with a documentation of the facts and figures regarding the closure of the border up until its reopening. You know why this is important? This is important because we need to find out what exactly happened that led to the closure of the border in the first place. 2, we need to underscore what were the actions taken by government and other stakeholders during the processes of, during the period of the border closure. 3 is that we need to also understand these actions that were taken, what were the results that were manifesting. And 4, we need to also understand the cost and the benefits of the border closure. And when I'm talking about cost and benefits, this also need to be quantitative enough in terms of figures, in terms of statistics. This is very important because we need to forestall future occurrences. And for you to forestall that, you must, at a point, go back to history. And the history is the reference material, which is this documentation we're talking about here. And that documentation would also begin to be very, very apt for anybody who is trying to make a policy, create a policy referring to border by tomorrow. And therefore, it becomes very important for every actor to know what had transpired. But beyond this, we need to begin to talk to ourselves. Now that the border has been reopened, are there lessons? Of course, we have got some report here that, some of the borders are still not fully opened. The cheering news is still there that we still have orders that will be reopened by 31st of of December, preparatory to the AFCFTA implementation that comes up on the 1st of January 2021. Now, the point is that while we are having that cheering news, we must also underscore the fact that the traders themselves, the manufacturers, the farmers, the transporters, logistic operators, and all the paraphernalia of their activities along the border and the corridor routes must now come to terms with reality. If you have stayed off business, off that track for over 16 months, the borders, by the way, were closed on the 20th of August 2019. And up till this point, if you had been shut down, it means you must be careful. You must beware of anything that will lead to the closure of such borders again.
Yes, again. That brings us to the question of the documents you raised.
Thank you very much.
That means all stakeholders must adhere to whatever comes out of that document for future occurrence.
Absolutely.
Now, still talking about that, Dr. Ukoha, insecurity was also part of the reasons why those borders were closed in the first place. I'm sure those lessons are still paramount now.
they are very, 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 more than any time, very paramount. Because if you are not secured in the first place, you are not going to do business. Anybody who is going to enter into any business must have his head covered, shielded, protected. And therefore, if we still have such killings here and there, and then from one point to another, you are so much afraid, and you are not sure of what is going to happen, there is no way you can go along with you ways, commodities, items for, sale. And it depresses the economy. It also depresses individual pockets in terms of incomes. And it confuses the entire environment in the sense that this is what has led us to where we are today, recession, economic recession. And therefore, anybody who looks at the border closure must first of all think of security. And so, one important reason why the borders were closed in the first place was that smugglers and unscrupulous members of the society, some vagabonds who masqueraded themselves as traders, were pulling in small arms and light weapons. Not only that, they were also peddling drugs across the border, all in the name of trade. And these are illegitimate, businesses that have found themselves in the attack of the economy, but also the attack of the social status of every Nigerian.
In all of this, Dr. Ukoha, has there been any evidence or reports of some of your members being engaged in those dastardly acts?
Now, I have to say this. There are a lot of genuine traders we have here, and I'm going to talk about that later. But then there are also people who masquerade as traders. They are not traders. These are smugglers. These are people who do not have legitimate means of livelihoods, and then they parasite with such activity, and then begin to destroy the economy. And of course, as a member of the ECOWAS Heads of State Task Force on Trade, I have been able to see with my two eyes situations where we met on the borders, and then we stopped people, and then we saw that, hey, by the way, this bag of rice contains more than a bag of rice. This bag of beans contains more. And shockingly, these are opened and you see AK-47s, right, lying, in state in those bags of rice. And you'll be so shocked. We've seen a situation where you see, bullets mixed inside food items and peddled. These are not people who are thinking good, who are patriotic, who are doing businesses. Yes. You can't call them traders.
And that's what the government is really fighting.
Exactly.
So the closure of those borders,
it made sense.
Made a lot
of sense.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ukoha. Let's talk more after the break. You're watching Weekend File on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Stay with us for more on this incisive discussion after the break.
5:28 p.m. Getting ready to lay down some tunes, but something ain't right. There's some discomfort in my throat. No worries though, TomTom Fresh Lime is here to save the day. Discomfort gone, time to bring the heat. Thanks TomTom Fresh Lime for giving me soothing relief. TomTom Fresh Lime, cool with a zing.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
My name is Nando Jamda Muhammad.
Stevita
Hussein Musa.
Roduna Joel Chenji.
Said Musa John. I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
And I said that plantain. Nakai Chimami Shekara Uku. I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
Ina wannan sana'ar lemu ne domin Nigeria ta ci gaba. Ina sa domin Nigeria ta kyau.
And you can see how we are doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Ina zaune ne a plateau na business. Kuma ina yin wannan domin ci gaban ƙasar Najeriya.
For a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back. Megatari land border in Jigawa state is strategic in the federal government's quest to make Nigeria an agricultural exporter country instead of being a consumer nation always. For this reason, the reopening of the international border was received with great joy by traders and the border community. Let's join Abdullahi Garba Berinkulu with the situation report.
Situated here is Megatari International Market that attracts thousands of traders from different parts of the country and Niger Republic to buy and sell goods, especially foodstuff and livestock. The market makes Megatari International border strategic to trading activities between the citizens of Nigeria and Niger Republic. Although the closure of the border by the federal government in August 2019 was done in good faith, it leaves much to be desired in the livelihood of the people of the border community and beyond.
When neighboring country enter and buy goods from us, and them buy from us, that is exchange of money, exchange of goods, and it will bring development.
It was a continuation of a terminus of the trans-Saharan trade. So people who want to sell their cash crops, they sell it there. People who want to sell hides and skin during the colonial economy, they bring it to Megatari market. So people heavily depend on Megatari market for their source of livelihood.
For now, life is gradually returning to normal. Traders, public commentators and economists describe the reopening of the border as a good decision that happened to the economy in 2020.
Not all countries are endowed with all the resources that will enable them to be self-sufficient. So opening the border will give benefits, a kind of two-way benefits to the Niger Republic as well as Nigeria.
For the people crossing the border, many say they must be cautious with what they carry along with them. Megatari International Land Border is also one of the export-free zone of the country. From Duse, Abdullahi Garba Bernunkudu, NTA News.
We're still here with the President, National Association of Nigerian Traders, Dr. Ken Ukoha, as we continue the dialogue on border reopening and its impact on the economy. Dr. Ukoha, the reports are so self-explicit. They have told us exactly what is going on in Seme border, and of course in Megatari, where of course activities have hit the ground running. Now, Ilela and Fum, where there are some low activities, or partial, if you may use that word. So what do we do, or what do the people over there need to do, to hit the ground running?
I think if you listen to from people from that axis, you would have heard when they were talking about officials of government waiting for signal from the presidency. So whoever is responsible for sending such signals must have to do that as quickly as possible, so that we act like people who are really ready, prepared for actions. And it will help us also to sustain the level of image we want others to see us, with. At the level of the International Committee of Nations. Because if the president announces and then somebody from one particular axis is not acting, or waiting for another directive, then it does not really help matters. But beyond this, I want us to also begin to look at it from other perspectives. When we talk about semi-border, I want a situation where we would also go back to the lessons that, are learned. For instance, if you move to, semi-border today, you will see this particular night, you will observe a deluge of activities going on. And you'll be asking yourself, is this a market or a border station? So there is no distinction between border and market. So I think this is one lesson I thought would have been learned by our government.
Especially by the customs.
Exactly. Not just the customs, but then the government. Are we locating a market at the border? Because this is where a lot of atrocities happen. There must be a distinguishing factor between the border and any other place where transactions are done. The border is not a place where you buy and sell. No. I was of the thinking that we should have learned that lesson, so that if we are going to build or construct or locate a market for international transactions, it should be way away from that market. Number 2 lesson is the issue of bribery. I think that it's important that now that we have come out of this, all the past lives, in quote, the past activities that, made us look dirty, should be done away with. In terms of bribery, harassment, unnecessary intimidations by officials of government, these things should be gone and be said bye-bye to. Number 3 is the activities of border communities. In the past, before the closure of the border, in fact, permit me to use this word, most of the border communities were smelling in the sense that they were patrons of smuggling activities, so to speak. Smelling in the sense that they were even supporters and shielders of smugglers. And you cannot distinguish between,
and that is corruption.
And that's terrible. That's terrible.
And the government is against
and most of these people, I must be very brutal here. Most of these people even, connive to fight the customs officials, government officials that are wearing uniform. I've seen a situation where, where these smugglers connive with border communities there and tear the uniforms off our...
Of course, with some corrupt officials.
That's another one.
That's exactly where we are heading to see that ugly scenario is completely,
We need to erode them completely. We need to completely.
Because the gains of the closure and reopening of the borders must not be, thrown by the side.
We shouldn't. And that's why I was really, and I keep hammering on the need for that clear documentation, so that every actor
will be part of it.
And see himself or herself in the mirror.
Okay, Dr. Koha, one more question before we let you go. Of course, last month, the Nigerian, the federal government ratified the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. How does that help in all of these discussions, even as the borders are reopening?
Okay, by 1st of January, that's this coming week, Nigeria will be part and parcel of the implementation of the AFCFTA that is taking off. And so, the borders are the corridors for transaction of cross-border trade, if you like, the continental trade. And moreover, Article 5B of the AFCFTA that we are implementing, and by the way, Nigeria has also deposited the instrument of ratification at the African Union. That article I referred to notes that the regional economic communities, in this case ECOWAS as one of the 8 of them, will be the building block to the AFCFTA implementation. Now, if you're looking at regional economic communities becoming the building blocks, it means that whatever we're doing with Benin Republic, whatever we're doing with Niger Republic, because we are all in the same conclave, regional economic community, that is the building block to the implementation of the AFCFTA, and that's why we need to be very careful. That's why we need to Nigeria know what we're doing with them. Yes.
Before ratifying.
And whatever we are discussing, whatever we are going to do, we must sit down properly. I know that there's a tripartite agreement that needs to be signed between Nigeria, Benin Republic, and Niger Republic. I want that to be signed immediately. In fact, that ought to have been signed before the reopening of the border and before the implementation of the AFCFTA.
All right, so generally, this exercise is indeed a step in the right direction.
It is absolutely commendable.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ken Ukoha.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for coming on Weekend File. We were speaking with Dr. Ken Ukoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders, and we'll be discussing on the border reopening and its impact on the nation's economy. Let's go for one more break on Weekend File. When we return, sports and more.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
Arsenal bounced back in a big way in the English Premier League match decided today. Let's join Gift on Sports Update.
As part of efforts to develop Nigerian sports holistically, the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, has promised basketball lovers a court each in all senatorial districts across the country in order to discover more budding talent that will be nurtured to stardom.
And the location to be selected by the state government will get that basketball up and running.